CES bills itself as the most powerful tech event in the world, and it is making plenty of noise in Las Vegas this week. AI remains front and center, and according to our next guest, it is benefiting the robotics industry too. Joining me now with more is Benji Barash, Roboto AI's founder and CEO. Benji, great to have you on the show this morning, joining us from the West Coast. We've seen some big announcements from some of the biggest names in technology when it comes to robotics. Is this industry finally having a real moment here?
Yeah, I really think we're getting there. I think over the last couple of decades, robotics has had a lot of false starts. But finally, as you were saying, all of the enabling technologies are in place so that we can actually get to a point now where we can deploy robots and scale them up and have big fleets, replacing some of the manual labor that's really crippled a lot of the industries for a long time.
What are you and your team building at Roboto?
Sure. So really one of the dirty secrets, I would say, of the robotics industry is that as you start scaling up a robotics fleet, these robots produce tons and tons and tons of data. And unfortunately, that data is very different to the type of tabular data that companies have been processing for a long time. Robots produce sensor data. It's very multimodal, and it comes from all the sensors that are on the robots. They might be cameras, LiDARs, radars, you name it. And so ultimately, all of this data needs to be analyzed so these companies can actually understand if their robots are working well in production. And if they're not working well, the issues might be pretty catastrophic. Imagine a drone falling out the sky or a surgical robot kind of not operating correctly on a patient. And so what Roboto is building is a data platform that helps these companies analyze robotics data specifically so they can find all the issues and edge cases ahead of time and not have their customers suffer.
What are the new AI capabilities that Roboto is announcing this month?
Sure. So we're really investing deeply in AI as well as a company. And a lot of the pain points that our current customers struggle with is still having to manually review all of this robotics data. To review robotics data, you have to be a super proficient, super smart robotics engineer, and it's really complicated to get through it all. So at Roboto, we're launching AI agentic analysis capabilities that will automatically review all of this robotics data that their robots are producing and surface all of those interesting incidents, issues, and edge cases that they might have otherwise missed and that might ultimately end up crippling their fleet if they can't discover ahead of time.
So is it the case that your company can help some robotics companies actually avoid downtime?
Yeah, downtime is a really big problem in the robotics industry, right? If you're rolling out a robotics fleet and it doesn't work all the time as you'd expect, your end customers are unhappy. You know, if the law enforcement team can't reliably go and fly their drone when they're expecting to, what's the point of having it in the first place, right? So downtime is a huge issue. At Roboto, we're really trying to help robotics companies scale up and get to that point where their fleet is really, really reliable. And so with our new agentic analysis capabilities, they can find more and more of the issues ahead of time that are going to, really jeopardize that reliability and jeopardize that uptime. So we're really excited. We've even seen, just huge improvements already with some of our current customers using this new suite of tools we built, where their uptime has gotten a lot higher because they're not finding issues now in production during their operations.
For robotics companies that are watching, Benji, what do they need to know?
I think they need to know that just because now all the enabling technologies are in place and robotics is really having a moment, as you were saying, it doesn't mean it's going to be easy for them to scale up the fleet. What we found at Amazon Robotics when we worked there was that it's pretty easy to build, robots in a lab environment now and build a few of them. But as soon as you go from a few robots to a big fleet of robots, these reliability issues start kind of coming through. And if you think about it, most robotics companies today have never operated at the kind of scale yet that they're going to need to in order to be successful businesses and have successful rollouts. And so companies need to get ahead of this data problem in their robotic fleet as early as possible. Otherwise, they're going to run into these issues in production, and it's going to be disastrous when they roll it out. So I'd encourage any robotics companies listening to get in touch with us. We can help you start automating the analysis of this robotics data as early as possible so that you don't run into issues later down the line.
Yeah. Anything that you're watching as it relates to CES currently underway in Las Vegas?
Yeah, I'm super excited about a lot of the announcements coming out of NVIDIA specifically. I think if you just look at what NVIDIA is doing now, especially in robotics, it's fascinating, right? They are one of the main reasons why the robotics revolution is now, I would say, well and truly underway. That's because they're providing a lot of the GPU chip technology in an embedded form that is able to power a lot of the autonomy algorithms on these robots. So, of course, they're deeply invested on the hardware side and the chip side, but NVIDIA is also really investing in the software infrastructure and the software tooling that goes on the robots as well in order to give them that intelligence layer so they can actually see and understand the world and make intelligent decisions. So I'm just really impressed with the full suite of capabilities that NVIDIA is announcing. It just announced a new suite of tools for autonomous vehicle companies, really like an off-the-shelf stack that gives autonomous vehicle companies the kind of capabilities that Tesla and Waymo have been building in a proprietary way for a long time. NVIDIA is putting a lot of that stuff really out there now to be consumed by more components.
Benji Barrage, founder and CEO of Roboto AI, thanks so much for joining.
Thank you.